Good afternoon and welcome back to another episode of Wellness Wednesday. I'm your host, Christy Gammon, and your doTERRA wellness advocate. And today's episode, we're talking about rest and stress, stress mainly. So I want to point you, we are moving up the rungs of doTERRA's wellness pyramid and looking at each one at a time. And I've already covered rest in a pretty comprehensive episode number 7. And so you'll look for episode number 7, sleep, for some amazing recommendations for that area of your health and wellness, so that today we can just focus on stress and really do a good job talking about that for you. And so, as life would have it, mind you, I would never ask for real life examples of stress leading into an episode, but here we are, and just thinking about these things that have happened right in succession before I began. I came home to a pop-up rain shower, so I wasn't prepared with my umbrella and had to run in the house carrying all my items from my wellness center in Worthington. And so I had my backpack with my own supplies. I had my bundle of sheets from my client that I just met with, and trying to bring all these things in balance and get the key in the door and come in and find my little doggie who's afraid of the rain and she's shaking. She's definitely in stress. So glad that I'm now home. She doesn't like to be here alone when it's raining. And I got a notification on my way home that Staples had delivered my big box of paper that I've been waiting for. And sure enough, they put it in the one tiny little spot right at the front edge of my porch that gets wet. They could have put it in the center of the porch, pushed it to the back of the porch, but no, it was even hanging off the front edge of the porch. It was just barely on the porch and the whole box is soaked. I was able to just quickly pull the packs of paper out of the box, and I think they're going to be okay. Maybe just a couple sheets damaged. First world problems, I realize. I will be the first to admit. But nonetheless, these are the kind of things that bombard us on a daily basis, and not even to mention the bigger overarching issues that many of us are dealing with on the day-to-day, never mind anything personally that you might be going through, but just even as the collective stress regarding health decisions, job and finances, and on and on and on. There's just so many things coming at us all the time. It is critical that we become aware of the stress in our lives and potentially the damage that it can cause. So I want to do a real thorough look at stress, and I want to kick off with the number one ways to reduce stress and really have the best possible response to stress that you can as a human. And that's all the things that we're talking about with doTERRA's wellness pyramid, all of your healthy habits. And so most of these should sound familiar to you by now. Good nutrition, regular exercise, staying hydrated, being well rested, and participating in proactive self-care. And by that, I don't mean going out to get your nails done. And that can be part of self-care, but what we're really talking about here is that put your own oxygen mask on first before you help others. Just making sure you are building into your life schedule those things that replenish you, so that you're not trying to serve from an empty vessel. Just that filling back up of you, your body, mind, and spirit, what you need to feel like a whole person and be well and function at your optimums. So moving into some ways to manage, because we know that stress coming into our lives is going to be inevitable. So how do we handle it when it comes in? There are certainly some unhealthy ways to cope with stress. People could smoke or drink or overeat or undereat or just zone out or withdraw. There are pills or drugs that you can take to relax. You can sleep too much, not get enough sleep, procrastinate, fill up every minute with busyness and activities so that you don't have to face issues or think too much, and then taking out stress on others, lashing out. And so what we want to do is just be really mindful and as aware as we can be of stressors coming into our life, and then how are we handling it. So just being aware in your day to day of those things. If you need extra help, you might start a stress journal and just try to write some things down. You'll probably be amazed the pages that you'll fill as even the small things like I was describing start coming at you. No babies were harmed in the delivery of my paper. So I'm not going to remember 2 days from now that my Staples box got wet. That's just going to go away from my brain and I'll move on to the next thing. But as those little things come into our lives over and over and over, they can take a toll if we're not being mindful of them. So maybe a stress journal would be a good way for you to record just how much stress you're dealing with on a daily basis, and then maybe a little bit about how you're responding or reacting to it. So what we want to do is learn healthier ways to manage our stress. And I've got a great article here from a publication called Brainline. And the focus of this publication is brain injury and PTSD. They actually get funding from the Wounded Warrior Project, which I'm a huge fan of. And I think the information in this article is really helpful. So it talks about the 4 A's. And 2 of them fall under change the situation. So some things we can have at least a little bit of control over. We might want to change the situation by either avoiding the stressor or altering the stressor. And so some examples of those may be learning how to say no, avoiding people who are just really toxic and stress you out, taking control of your environment. Maybe I just had a friend share that reading the news has been too stressful for them in this season, and they realized it's one of the first apps that they see when they check their home screen on their phone. And so just by moving that news app, kind of burying it amongst other apps, it's no longer the first thing they see when they open up their phone. And so they really have to be intentional about finding that news app. And is it the time of day that's appropriate for me to step into someone else's agenda and absorb or consume that news? And I thought that was an amazing, healthy step that person could take. So that's a result of being aware and a great example of taking charge of the environment. So altering the situation, sometimes you can't avoid it completely, but you can try to make some modifications. So expressing your feelings instead of pushing them down until they just burst forth. Being willing to compromise in certain situations, picking your battles, which ones really matter, which ones can you let go, and then being more assertive when it really matters, and reserving truth in love or kindness at all times when you really do need to express yourself and stand up for your health and wellness. Maybe some of us need to manage our time better. Sometimes poor time management can add to a lot of stress. And if you're noticing that you're not giving yourself enough time to get somewhere, then the slightest little thing can throw you into road rage. And that is something that you can alter. You can manage your time a little better, leave a little earlier, and then you have more capacity to handle those stressors that come at you. And then adapting to the stressor would be next. If you can't change it, maybe there are some changes that you can make within yourself. Reframing issues, looking at the big picture, adjusting your standards, which this sounds a little off. I'm not talking about compromising your values, but I am addressing perfectionism here. And so if you get too tied down to setting really high, maybe overly high expectations expectations for yourself, just lowering your own standards of excellence for yourself. We always want to do our best, but sometimes done is better than perfect. And so just recognizing those situations where you can lower the expectation a bit and cut out a lot of stress. Adjusting your attitude is one that you can definitely control. And then finally, accept the things that you can't change. There's no amount of energy that's going to help us control the uncontrollable. So don't spend your energy there. Look for the upside in all situations. Share your feelings, like I said, in healthy ways, and learn to forgive. Be forgiving of others, and be willing to apologize and ready to accept someone's forgiveness when maybe you've stepped out of line. And so, why is this so important? I want to touch just for a moment on some of the effects of stress on our bodies, minds, and spirits. It can come out looking like irritability, anxiety, and depression. And sometimes maybe we operate with just low-lying levels of these things. And then in prolonged seasons of stress, they start to be more extreme. Headaches, insomnia, heartburn. Now I'm getting into a lot of the physical symptoms, rapid breathing, weak immune system, pounding heart, higher risk of heart attack, high blood sugar, high blood pressure, stomach ache, tense muscles. In the reproductive area, that can look like infertility, erectile dysfunction, missing periods or extreme period symptoms, and low libido. And so these long-term stress effects, and I think all of us qualify for being in long-term stress at this point, regardless of our personal circumstances, just for the global or community circumstances that we've all been experiencing. Our central nervous and endocrine systems is where we are going to have a lot of our hormone regulation and management. And when we're in fight, flight, or freeze, our body is going to respond to that as if we're in a life or death situation. Our body wants to go into survival mode and protect us. It's going to manufacture and release excess cortisol into the system. Now, in the short term, a burst of cortisol can really help you. Maybe you need motivation, maybe you need to finish a race strong or finish a task well. A short burst of cortisol can be helpful, but when your body is flooded with it for an extended period of time, that is not good. And it can result in a lot of symptoms and even illness and disease that you don't want. So basic level, just to keep your organs safe, your major organs are all located centrally in the torso. And so it's very common to either retain or gain weight in that area because your body thinks it needs to have extra padding there to protect those vital organs. So that might be the first thing that you're noticing. Then if you have respiratory issues, it could become even more difficult to breathe. I mentioned some cardiovascular issues, increased risk of heart attack. You'll see it just snowballs and can affect every system of the body. Within the digestive system, really anything goes here. It can look like heartburn and indigestion. It can go anywhere from diarrhea to constipation and anything in between. These can be nuisances or can go all the way to chronic, even life altering / life threatening diagnoses. In the muscular system, you could feel a lot of tension in your muscles all the way to experiencing arthritis over time. I mentioned the reproductive system and a lot of the specific things there. Testosterone is going to drop as those hormones fluctuate. And that's kind of the underlying cause of all the things that I mentioned previously. And then in your immune system, as it just becomes reduced, you become more and more vulnerable to a whole host of additional illnesses and setbacks, you'll also notice that it takes you longer to recover from something, whatever that is you're battling. So hopefully that lays the groundwork for how important it is to do those things I talked about from the beginning, focusing in on your healthy habits and learning how to manage and function within a stressful situation as best you can. Now, in addition to your healthy habits, if you need some more support, I have some amazing essential oils and products here with me that I want to highlight for you. And so first, I want to direct you. If this is all speaking to you and you would love a deeper dive, I have a whole class called Essential Emotions that talks about, whoops, dropped my oil, that talks about the chemical nature of our emotions as well as the chemical nature of essential oils. And that is why they partner so well within the body, within the brain to bring us the balance and the wellness that we're looking for. And so I'm going to add the link to that class after I post this video so you can check that out in its entirety. But I'm going to kind of give you the cliff notes. There are 3 categories of essential oils and products that I talk about in that class. And the first one, this is our OG mood management collection. There are 4 oils there, and I'm just going to highlight one today. This is, let's turn around so you can see it. This is Balance. It's a blend of tree oils, especially grounding. And so if you're just experiencing, this is what I would call that level 1, just moment of stress. So I've come in the back door, it's raining, I didn't expect that, my dog's shaken up, and I've got a box of paper that's delivered to the front door that's all, hopefully not ruined. But I'm not sure in that moment, and I'm feeling the stress. And so moment to moment, if you just need a little boost, one of these mood management oils such as Balance is perfect. You can just pull it out, smell it right out of the bottle, low maintenance, or you can put some on like I just did, a drop or 2 in the palms, rub them together. Just take a moment, pair that oil with some deep breathing, and just come back to yourself. Come back to who you are and how you want to be so that you're not blasting maybe a Staples delivery person who's having a hard day and they didn't intentionally want to ruin my paper, which in the end, they didn't ruin my paper, and it's all going to be fine. So just bringing yourself back to a healthy perspective. So just those moments of stress that we want to deal with in a healthy way, the mood management collection is just perfect for. Then we have our emotional aromatherapy collection. There are 6 oils in this collection, all proven statistically significant in a wonderful study in an integrated oncology clinic where all 6 of these oils were shown to be statistically significant in increasing positive response and decreasing negative response to stressful situations. And I'm going to just highlight my favorite in this group, and this is Motivate. Now, I use the name of this collection to help people decide when they want to use one of these oils. Now we're on level 2. So I love that the word therapy is in our essential aromatherapy collection, because what I like in this too is if what you're dealing with is more than just a little bit more than that in the moment thing, that maybe you would want to talk to somebody about it. Maybe just a friend or a family member, maybe a counselor or a spiritual director or a pastor from church, something like that. Then that's where I would bring in one of these oils to companion you. And I'm going to highlight Motivate because this is one of my favorites. And it's that time of afternoon where I might just need a little extra support. It's 2:23 where I am. I leave to pick up my daughter from school at 2:45. And if I've got 5 or 10 minutes after I'm done with this broadcast, I could panic and not do anything in that time, or I could choose an oil that supports me and really helps me make the most of that time. It's going to clear my mind, help me think of something that I could do in a short period of time, check that off the list, and then I'm feeling really productive and happy versus stressed, maybe foggy, not sure what to do, and then frustrated with myself. Um, so that late time of the day that might occur regularly where you experience that stress, and this is where I would say maybe you want to talk to someone about it, because there could be an underlying issue. Maybe you're not managing your time well in the afternoon, or some other variable is coming in, that it would just be really helpful to talk with a trusted friend or even professional to help work through the scenario there and find what's going to be best for you long term. Any of these 6 oils would be great to pair with those conversations and that therapy that you're getting otherwise. And then final level, I have our adaptive line. We have an essential oil 15 milliliter bottle. We have an essential oil pre-diluted in the touch format roller ball. And we have a capsule. This is a supplement which includes essential oil as well as herbal ingredients. Just a little fun fact for those who maybe have a variety of doTERRA supplements. When they're capsules, that's when they contain the essential oil and an herbal component. When you have the soft gel, those just contain essential oils, just a more convenient format for getting those oils into the body. And so this is our level 3 response in doTERRA. When you're, maybe you've been diagnosed with something. I'll share my own personal experience. I've never had a formal diagnosis, but a lot of people in my family suffer with a variety of levels of anxiety to depression. And I've always felt personally on the depression end of that scale, if you will, just low energy, propensity to lay down and go to sleep, or sleep more, oversleep versus experience insomnia, and just a lot of the common symptoms of depression. I've never spoken with a professional over a prolonged period of time about incorporating a prescription into my life. It's been offered to me before. Friends have encouraged me to do it before, but I've never engaged in that conversation and seriously considered it. I just have always chosen to manage it naturally the best I could. Now, saying that, there have been some very stressful seasons of my life where I did not manage it well at all. I really needed some additional support and didn't want that prescription to be the answer for me. And so I was searching, and part of that search is what helped me find essential oils in the first place. But it's been like a miracle in my life to have the adaptive line. This came out, I think it was the fall of 2019, and has been absolutely life-changing for me. I take one adaptive capsule in the morning, and I diffuse the adaptive oil during the day, and then I carry this roller with me so that I can, in the moment, if I'm feeling some heaviness come on, I can just roll that on and keep going. And this has been a night and day difference in my life. I can tell you just my baseline day-to-day default is to feel like, I'll pop up in the morning and help my daughter get ready for school and go through our routine, and, open up my home and start into my home blessing rituals. But the thought in the back of my mind often is either I want to go back to bed or I wish I could go back to bed, which is so sad, because even on really happy, positive days when I have lots to look forward to, I still will notice that thought creeping in. And when I take my adaptive pill, it's just that thought just doesn't occur to me. I am so energized and positively swept up in all the good that I have to think about and to occupy my mind, that it doesn't occur to me that I want to lay back down in the bed. And it's funny, even some mornings my behaviors will match those little nagging thoughts in the back. Like, I won't fully make my bed, as if I'm just gonna maybe see what I'm gonna do. But as soon as I take my adaptive, I go right back in and make the bed because there's not like, why would I do that? I'm definitely not going back to bed today. I have things to do. It's that life changing for me and it feels so good. And so I love to recommend this. If you want to learn more about it, there's a Facebook group that is all about testimonials of adaptive. So many people from so many walks of life have been massively helped by this line of oil and supplement, that there's a whole Facebook group where people just share their testimonies. And so I'll share a link for that. You can request to join that group, and it's amazing. And then there's more about it in the class that I talked to you about. I'm going to share the link for that class. And if you want a personal recommendation, I'm always going to advise you, if you've already started the path where you're on a medication, then you really need to go back to your doctor and have a conversation. You're going to want to look up the product information pages for these and sit down with your trusted medical professional to say, is this an option for me? And then you guys can work through that. I would never recommend quitting something cold turkey. I know people who have done it, but that's not my official recommendation for you. It's always going to be that partnering with your doctor if you are on a medication and figuring out the best way to wean and make a change if that's what's going to be what's best for you. Now, if you're like me and you were just starting a search or dealing with things your whole life and you would want that natural approach, then I can help you get started right away with a regimen for adaptive. Let me know how I can support you on that. I hope all of this information is really helpful to you as you navigate the stress of your own life and this very stressful time that we're all living in as a people, as a society. As I mentioned, reach out anytime. I would be happy to work with you one-on-one to help you come up with something that's very specific to you that would be especially tailored to your needs. I'll be back next week with our next episode. And in the meantime, here's to your continued health and wellness. Take care.